at you and she wants you to be that man. She wants you to be that breadwinner. But there's no jobs. And they tell you, say, you know, you keep coming back here looking for a job. You know what your problem is? Your problem is that you need to go back to school. You need to get your education. Well, we're being blocked out of education. But when we heard you need to go back, some of us said we're going to climb the wall and we're going to get into schools. And we broke the wall and we got into schools. 2%. Out of the 2%, maybe an eighth of them out of the 2% came back with a degree and went back to those same jobs and applied. And they told them, said, "Weren't you here 3 years ago, 4 years ago?" "Yes, sir, that's me. You told me to go get my education. Well, I'm back. Here's my degree." Unfortunately, sir, we're not going to be able to hire you. Why not? You're overqualified. We can't pay you what you're worth. Now I'm damned if I do and I'm damned if I don't. And at the same time, you sitting back in your mind thinking to yourself, my wife don't understand when I go out and look for a job that there's no job. I can't make her understand because the women didn't understand that time that the game was being played. So they would leave the house every day like they was going to look for work, and they'd go down to the local bar. Or they'd go up to their friend's house. There was no job to be found. This guy says, then I began to not like myself. He said, when I got up in the morning, I go to brush my teeth. He said, I look in the mirror and I see the guy in the mirror, I didn't like him. I brush my hair. The next day, I don't like him. How do you not like yourself? Why? Because I'm no man. There's no need me fooling myself. I'm no man. He said, when my daughter came home, and everybody know when you're down on your luck, you don't have any money, but the mother had so much pride and so much respect and wanted her daughter to go to school to be competitive with any young girl in the school. Made sure that she stayed up half the night to wash that dress every night. It was the same dress. And iron those pleats in every night to make sure she looked good going to school and be proud of herself going to school. But every little girl always wanted that opportunity to get that new dress. Daddy, Daddy, you promised me you was going to buy me that new dress for my birthday. Are you going to still buy it for me, Daddy? Yeah, baby, I'm going to get you that dress. And he walks down the hall and he puts his hand in his pocket and he reaches down and finds nothing but holes in his pocket. Yeah, I don't like that man in the mirror. My baby is asking me for a new dress and I can't get it. Before he digests that, now here comes his son knock on the door. Daddy, Daddy, Daddy. My PE teacher told me, if I don't get no tennis shoes and shirt and shorts, I'm going to fail my PE class. I have to have some sneakers, Daddy. Are you going to get them for me? Now it's infringing upon his kid's education. Yeah, I don't like the guy in the mirror. Yeah, son, I'm going to get you those sneakers. Now the wife comes in and say, honey, you know, we've been married 15 years. It's our anniversary. Every woman wants to see her man step up to the plate on the anniversary. What we gonna do, baby? We gonna go out to dinner? Or we going dancing? Maybe we taking a movie. But what are we gonna do? I don't know, baby, but we gonna do something? And he walks down the hall with tears in his eyes because he know he don't have no way to take his kids to the dream that they have in their hearts. He know that he can't show the love that he have for his wife. I hate the man in the mirror. And then all of a sudden, boom, these drugs come down and they say, take this, you can escape. You don't have to deal with yourself. You can forget all that. They had a movie that came out years ago that illustrated this point called Lady Sings the Blues, Billie Holiday. They showed a scene where Billie Holiday was on the bus and they were traveling through the South. And she was the only black person on the bus. And she just happened to be peering through the window and she looked outside and she saw the KKK with their grinning, and she was infuriated. She went ballistic. And they tried to suppress her and hold her down. Billy, get down, hide, get down, don't let them see you. Well, they got through that night and they drove on through. Everybody else in the band was doing fine. But Billie Holiday was not doing fine. Her body made it safe, but her mind was gone from that point on. She couldn't go out and sing like she would normally go out and sing. And somebody brought those same drugs to Billie Holiday, say, take this, baby girl, and you can forget. That's why we're fragmented today in terms of young kids running astray in the streets for all minority groups. Because we, as adults, had to step to the side because we had to run from ourselves, not merely because we were that type of individual, but because the stage was set for us to be that way. The stage was set for me to be born into the world June 5th, 1945, to appear in Mexico City, October 16th, 1968. That's what I was born for. When I came into the world, a stair step that God put me on to see everything that I need to see, so when I got there in Mexico City, everything would be precise. People want to know, did you take 2 years to figure it out? Was this spontaneous? How did it come about? Well, it came about by me looking as a young kid and seeing how divided society was. I looked at adults, I looked at the business people in society to make the adjustments, to make things right. I looked at the clergy for them to make it right. I looked for all the people in politics to make it right. None of them stepped up and made it right. When you sit back and you say, I see as a young kid, 7, 8 years old, I see a vision on my wall like a movie. And I see me in the movie at 7 years old. Why did God show me a vision? Why did he reach down to the beaches of society and pick up a grain of sand with the name John Carlos on it, that he gonna make me see something that's 7 years old and say, hey, Johnny, this is something you could be a part of. You don't have to. Just see, like he tell every one of you, you don't have to, but you can. And he showed me in this vision on a box in a forum where a whole bunch of people were and everybody was yippee-ki-yay and they was happy about something. And I realized that no one was on the box but John Carlos. It wasn't John Carlos as an adult, it wasn't John Carlos as a teenager, it was John Carlos as a 7-year-old kid. And everybody applauding. It dawned in my little brain that it must be applauding about me because I'm the only one standing out here in this box. I went to raise my left hand to just acknowledge the people. And just as I got my hand about the same distance it was at the Olympics. Now, the strange thing is I'm right-handed. But God showed me in that vision, me waving with the left hand. And by the time I got my hand about this high, that joy and happiness, that yippee-ki-yay that I talked about disappeared. Sunshine turned to stormy weather. Laughter turned to anger. They started spitting. They started name-calling. They started swearing. They started throwing things and telling me where to go. It shook me up so bad. At 5:30, 6 o'clock, we would have dinner every day. That vision came to me early in the morning. But it rocked me so bad till my dad realized something was wrong at dinner. He said, Johnny, what's the matter? I said, Daddy, I was in a movie. You were in a movie? Or what happened? Daddy, everybody was happy about something I did. And then they got mad at me and they started throwing things and cussing. And I remember my dad taking me to his chest. He's telling me, he said, son, my job is to protect you, to love you, to comfort you, to see that you get good food, and make sure you get a great education. Nobody's going to bother you. And he reached over to my mother and he told my mother, he said, I look like God's got something special in mind for this kid. We're going to have to wait and see. 15 years later, I was on that victory stand. But on the trail there, God showed me some other things. I'm standing in my father's shop one day in the doorway and I saw a young white cop. I saw 2 winos. Today they call them transients. They got this new technology called transients now. But it used to be a wino. And they had an island running down the middle of Lenox Avenue, and in this island, these 2 winos had their good time Friday night. It was Saturday morning. And this guy must have been a rookie cop because he had a brand new blue uniform. But he went over to the first individual white fellow was laid there in a fetal position, and he took his nightstick and he wrapped it on the ground. The guy didn't move. Excuse me. He took the stick and he poked him. Get up, move on. Guy looked at him, got up, staggered off. He went over to the black fella. Black fella's laid on his back, got his hand behind his neck. You'd have thought he was in his living room. Feet sticking straight up like that. He took the stick, thank you. He took the stick, he wrapped that stick on the ground the same as he did the other fella. And I figured he's gonna do the same thing because the guy didn't move. He took that stick and I thought he was gonna poke him, but he took the stick and he held it like a baseball bat. And he walked down to the end where his feet was and he wore out the bottom of his shoes. Now I don't know whether you ever seen a man levitate from laying position and when he hit the ground, run out the street, almost got killed by a cat. But he sent me into shock. I asked my father, Rand, Daddy, why did he do that? Why did he do that? That's the first time my father admitted to me, son, all people are not treated the same in this life. Wow, that's a heavy statement. We're not treated the same. In church that I went to, they told me we were treated the same. I was Catholic until I went to the South and I realized that Catholics was different in the South because I couldn't go to the same church because of the color of my skin. I learned also that I could not represent America in certain quarters or certain instances. Because the first time I heard about a competition, it wasn't basketball, it wasn't football, it wasn't baseball, it was about somebody swimming the English Channel. Hey Dad, what's this guy swimming the English Channel? What is the English Channel? Is he gonna get a trophy? Does he get money? They take his picture. What do they do? What did he get? What is he getting for it? Well, son, he probably get a little bit of everything you said. Well, Pop, how does he swim the English Channel? With a knife in his mouth? Because there's sharks out there. What happens when he have to go to the bathroom? These are questions I needed answered because I'm going to swim the English Channel next. I was the best New York bathtub swimmer. Best, by far. And then as my father went to find the answers for that, he reached back and he told me, he said, you know, son, he said, I swim just like a rock, straight to the bottom, but we're going to get to the bottom of this. I'm going to find out. He goes away. You don't come back with no answers. You're still working in the shop. And then all of a sudden on the radio, and our radio at that time was our TV. Come across the radio, the Olympic Games. What is the Olympic Games? Well, son, that's where the greatest athletes from around the world come together to show how strong they are physically, how strong they are mentally to represent their nation, to represent their country. Wow, Daddy, there ever had any black swimmers to represent America? No, son. I'm going to be the first to represent America, Daddy. I'm going to be the first black to represent America. I think any kid should have that right to want to be the first. Any kid should have that right to say, I want to represent my nation. That was my dream. It went on for a year. It went on for 2 years. The second year, my father said, my son is getting too wrapped up into this dream that's not going to take place. And he felt it was his responsibility to come and tell me, son, we need to talk. What's the matter, Daddy? You're never going to be able to go to the Olympic Games to represent America as a swimmer. Why not, Pop? I'm good. I'm the best. He said, well, son, you're not going to be able to do it. And I said, why again? And he rubbed his hand. Just did like that. I thought he was killing the bug or something. I said, what are you doing, Pop? He said, you won't be able to go because of the color of your skin. And before I could digest that, he said, well, where would you train, Johnny? He said, a swimmer needs to train 3 times a day. Where would you train? He said, you can't go to the Harlem River. He said, that's where all your friends drown every year. He said, you can't go to your local public pool because that's where all the people in there trying to cool off. He said, you can't go to the ocean, the water's too rough. Where would you go? And when he said that, I'm thinking, I'll go to a club. He said, oh, you think you'll go to a club, huh? I said, yeah. He said, you can't go